Hello everybody, I'm Alison Bernstein and I am going to show you how we braid challah in our house, and I have a helper today. This is my daughter, Abigail Bardell. So she's going to demo a 4-strand braid, which is the challah we make normally, and then I'm going to show you something really fancy that I learned to make during the shelter in place because I watched too many cooking videos on Instagram. So the first step after you've made your dough, and you can use whatever dough recipe you want, is to measure your dough into equal size balls so that your strands are the same size. So I actually use a bowl and a little kitchen scale, and I put the dough in there and I make roughly equal size balls of dough. Can you put that in the sink? Thank you. I should have said she's my sous chef. But sometimes she's the lead chef and I'm the sous chef. So once you have your ball of dough here, I take a rolling pin and we roll it into a rectangle. And so this rectangle, we're going to roll it up into the strand. But this is the point where if you wanted to make raisin challah, you would lay raisins out over here before you roll this up like this. Some other things you can do at this point is that we've done smaller bits of challah and rolled it into a rectangle and made like sun-dried tomato pesto rolls, where we put sun-dried tomato and pesto here, then roll the strand and then wrap it into just a round piece, and they're little like dinner rolls. We've also done sort of a cinnamon roll style challah where we make a bigger strand and we make a big rectangle like that, and then we made it a s'mores challah rolls, and so we spread chocolate sauce and then mini marshmallows, and then rolled it up in a big roll, and then sliced it and put it in just a round baking pan so it all fit together. And then we topped it with graham cracker crumbs and baked it like that. So they were s'mores challah buns. They were very good. The marshmallows do completely melt, as a warning. So if you're just doing a normal, boring, regular Friday night challah, you have your little rectangle, and then you kind of roll it and pinch it as you go so that you're getting out all the air. Well, not all the air, but you don't want to leave air in the roll. And so you roll it like this and you pinch it together, and then you have kind of a very thick roll like this, and pinch the seams so that it all stays together, and then you roll it out. And so I like to put my hands on the end and kind of pull out as I go, because your goal is that you're going to have a very long roll here, and the ends are going to be tapered, and it's going to be a little bit fatter in the middle, like this, kind of. And so then you would do that for all of your rolls until they're all about the same length. And so we actually rolled the rest of them ahead of time, because it would be pretty boring to watch us roll all these strands. So this one needs to be longer, because you will see that this is much shorter, even though we have to make it skinnier and roll it more until the length is similar. So we're gonna roll that out. And so we're gonna put our 4 next to each other. Okay, I'm gonna turn it over to Abby. I think she wants me, do you want me to narrate?
Yes.
What you're doing? Okay, I'm gonna narrate so she doesn't ramble.
I'm a talkative person.
Okay, so why don't we turn it this way so everyone can see. Oh, we have this all on, it's called a silpat mat, if you don't know what these are. They're really handy because you don't need to get flour all over everything. Sometimes you'll need flour on it, but you don't need to use flour. You can just put it on here, you can move it around, and it can go in the dishwasher. So we have a bunch of these, and we also bake our challah on smaller versions of it. Okay, this one is much shorter, so we're gonna end up with some issues when we get to the ends, but we can fix that problem. It's very forgiving. Okay, so we first start by pinching the top of the strands together like that. Okay, and then Abby's gonna start on which side?
The right.
The right side. And you go over the other strand, under, and then over. And you have to try to get it, push it up. You see how she pulled it up at the top here to make sure that there's no gaps. Okay, I'm gonna prop this back up so we can watch. So then she just starts with the next one. Over, under, over. And you keep trying to push these in tightly so there's no gaps. This is going to be a very large challah. We let the dough rise overnight, so we had an enormous amount of dough. It kind of exploded out of our bowl.
Almost.
So this is going to be a big one.
And depending on how long you let it rise, it will be a different length. Because if you let it rise more, you'll have more volume of dough to work with, which can sometimes be a little harder or a little easier depending on what kind of challah you're making.
Yep. Okay, so she's just repeating this pattern over and over for a 4-strand. It's over, under, over, under, over, right to left. So you just keep doing that. And then eventually you get to the end and you can see that she's kind of running into a point where one of the strands, our short strand, is short. And so I actually think I know why this one is short, because I made these strands about 20 minutes ago. So they had time to rise and expand. So that's why, even though we started with the same weight of dough, this one's shorter.
Should we cut them?
But so what we're gonna do here is we're just gonna tear off the ends so that they're all about the same length. Okay, and then we can end it. So at the end, you just go over, under, over for as much as you can on these little bits. And then you kind of, then what do you do?
Tuck it under.
You squeeze it all together and pinch it, and then you tuck it under. There we go.
So
And then,
nobody has to know.
and then on this side, we kind of do the same. So this is going to be a little bit backwards because it's the opposite end, but we just basically do the same. Twist them all together and tuck it under. And there is the challah. And then we transfer it to our baking tray, and this is what I was talking about, the smaller Silpat mat. This one's darker because it's been baked a few hundred times. We transfer it gently here, and then at this point we'll put on an egg wash and let it rise for about an hour, and then we put a second egg wash on, and then you bake it. And you can just bake according to whatever recipe you're using. So that's our pretty standard 4-strand challah. But I have been watching too many Instagram videos, so I'm going to make a hamsa challah that I learned about, which is basically a combination of just 2-strand twists and 3-strand braids. So I made a lot of strands ahead of time. So I'm going to start with the middle piece, and I just have 2 strands, and I'm going to twist them together. So this is just twisting. And I'm going to do the same thing if they're a different length, just tear off the extra and toss it in my bowl. And then I'm going to do the ends like that and leave that twist there. So it's just a twist. Then we need 3 small 3-strand braids. So this will show you how to do a 3-strand braid, which you could do as your regular challah too. And so that's like if you were braiding someone's hair, it's just over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under. And if you want to find where I learned this from, it's a place called Nomad Bakery. I think that they're in New Hampshire, but they're Nomad Bakery on Instagram. And she's been doing all these tutorials during the shelter in place, which has been really fun. So then I have a nice little 3-strand braid, and that's going to go like that above the, or actually under our little twist. And so I'm going to do that a few times. Also, the website that I used to learn how to braid challah and make the strands is a blog by Tori Avey, and she has really good tutorials. She also has instructions for how to do a round challah for Rosh Hashanah, and that's how I learned that 2. So just quickly. So here's another 3 strand. Looks better than the last one.
Because you're getting in the groove.
Okay, it's a little boring to watch me braid all these challahs. So when she does these on her, the Nomad Bakery does these, she has like each strand has a different kind of topping, and they're like works of art, and I'm not that fancy yet. Give me a few more weeks of shelter in place and maybe I can do that too. Okay, so this is the last 3-strand braid for the top of the hamsa. So we've also just had fun. We made challahs shaped like hearts, where we twisted 2 together and just shaped them and then filled them in the middle with little rounds of challah. I don't know, we've just had a lot of fun with just trying things. You can really just do whatever you want. So now I'm gonna do another twist. These got a little stuck together. So again, like we started with, just twisting, 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 still twisting, still twisting, and still twisting. Okay. So the twists are a little tricky because they like to untwist, so you kind of have to retwist them a little bit. Okay. So with this twist, I'm going to pinch the end so it stays together, and then I'm going to wrap it like this so that it's at the bottom here, and then this twist goes across the top like that. And then I have a piece here, and I'm just going to make, this is the kind of turban style that I talked about before. If you wanted to do little dinner rolls, you just kind of wrap it around itself. So I just twisted. And so I've got one there like that. And I have some extra dough here from all our little scraps. And so we'll make another quick strand, and I'll do the same, and that will fill it in. I don't think you guys can see this, so once it's done, I'll show you what down here looks like. Thank you for the water, Abby.
And this time I checked it is raspberry.
Okay, so I'm going to make another little turban here. So I just pinched it in there, and then I'm rolling it in on itself to make a little turban. So that's going to go in there, and then this is all going to rise, so all these things will kind of fit together. And I should have done it on here because now transferring it's going to be tricky. So I'm probably just going to have to take it apart and transfer it, so which is fine. So we're going to do that and that. And they can't see what I'm doing off camera here. I'm just transferring it, transferring it, transferring it. Okay. So this is what we end up with. And if you had other little bits, you can make little swirlies and put them anywhere you want. But I think we're gonna stop for now. So these need an egg wash, an hour to rise, and then they bake for about, depending on the size of your challah, somewhere between 20 and 40 minutes. But we will be back with you when that's over. Bye. Okay, we're back. So these have risen for an hour, and you can see that they are now much, much bigger, and they're a little bit shiny from that first egg wash, and we had a little bit of dough left, so we made a little roll out of it. So we're gonna do the second egg wash and then put it in the oven. And what I like to do is, because it rises for an hour, about a half hour in, I turned on the oven to preheat so it was ready by the time the rice finished. So we're gonna do another egg wash. So we just put the egg wash we made before in the fridge. We can use it again. So you just kind of paint it on the challah on every surface. Sometimes, some people like to add a little water to their egg wash. That will give you a lighter color. If you use egg yolks only, you'll get an even darker color. So it just depends what your preference is and how you like your challah to look. This egg wash is just an egg, no water, and the whole egg. So we're just gonna paint the whole thing. You wanna try to avoid getting like pools of egg in these little divots because then you end up with like a little bit of egg in there. So that's it. You just do the egg wash on all the surfaces and then it'll go in the oven according to whatever recipe you are using until it is done. And so I will put these in the oven and then we'll have another clip in a little while to show you what they look like when they're all done. Okay, I just took these out of the oven. These ended up taking a while because they're so big, but here they are. You can see they have the nice brown color from the egg wash, and we had a little bit of dough left, so there's our little bitty challah roll. And then I'm pretty happy with how the hamsa turned out, although it's huge, so we're going to be eating a lot of bread for the next few days. So I hope that you learned how to braid challah and you too can have fun and make some creative challahs. Shabbat shalom.